Great to have you along for the ride. Thanks a lot for stopping by. Really glad to have this man back. It's Dr. and Representative Rich McCormick. Rich, how are you? Good to see you.
Great to see you, too. Happy, beautiful season to be celebrating right now.
It's a wonderful holiday season. We're glad to have you on today. The holiday season, for me, costs a lot of money. But it doesn't cost more money than I have. You know what I mean? I know that people get into credit card debt, and I wish that they wouldn't. But this country is in credit card debt to the tune of $34 trillion. I want people watching and listening just to write that down, Rich, because I don't think people understand what $34 trillion looks like. And you did a speech on Friday that was so great. I couldn't have done it better myself, and I'm a communicator for a living. You just went down the list about what we're doing wrong, $1 trillion a year in debt, or in just paying off interest. So do me a favor, if you don't mind, for my audience, just sort of encapsulate what you said the other day in that 5 minutes about the debt and what we should do about it.
Absolutely. So if you look at our debt to spending ratio, every year we take in about $4.5 trillion of income through taxes, and then we spend around $7. That means we're in over 30% deficit spending per year, over $2 trillion, really. If you cut everything we have in discretionary spending, all the military, all the stuff that's not Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, you're never going to make up the deficit. So therefore, matter of fact, if you count just the interest rates, which you said was $1 trillion per year, that's more than we spend on the military, which is around $800 billion.
Wow.
And if you just took the tax income that we make every year, which is about $4.5 trillion, you go to the $35 trillion that we owe. You didn't pay the interest. You didn't have even a government. You had nothing spent in the government except for on debt. It would take you over 7 years to pay that off. So we're not really having a realistic conversation anymore about what debt and deficit is. And if we don't address our non-discretionary spending, which I know nobody wants to touch, nobody wants to do anything about, but if we don't, it's going to have automatic cuts of 21% to cut Social Security and 11% to Medicare. So this is if we do nothing. We have to do something, and that's the compassionate thing to do, to actually shore these programs up.
District 6 Republican, great state of Georgia. It's Rich McCormick. Rich, I'm hearing these numbers. You and I would be out of our house. We would have no house, no cars. Everything would be repossessed, and it would be gone. We would not be allowed to just keep on spending. The last I checked, baseline budgeting is about 8 to 10% per year. And for those watching and listening, that just means that every single year, the government somehow gets a budget increase, and we still have no money. What do we have to do to reform this? How did it get, let's start from this. How did it get so bad? Because you and I would be out of our houses if we didn't pay the mortgage, or if we said, we'll just pay you interest for a while.
Right, and I love the DOEs. I think they're going to be 100 members of the DOEs committee, which is really not even a committee. It's more of an advisory board that's going to work with Elon Musk and Vivek. And I think it's great. But once again, if you cut the entire budget other than the non-discretionary, we haven't even touched. Now, I think they're very willing to look at how we can revise Social Security and Medicaid and Medicare to save a lot of money on waste, fraud, and abuse. One of the things that if you want to talk about how we got here, though, it started in about 2004 where the real divergence happened. Now, even Reagan said in his farewell speech, it's the one thing he could have done better is control spending.
Yeah.
When you get into pork barrel spending and back scratching and things that actually Kennedy wrote back when he was a senator. Now, we're talking about in the 50s, we had a problem. And this is when we noticed after World War II that we spent a lot of money on the war, which we had to, but we never really corrected that trajectory.
Right.
In 2004, you saw a huge divergence where this parabolic shift towards massive increase in spending happened. Guess who was president during that? A president who was a Republican.
Well, 2004 would have been Bush.
Yeah, and actually they increased the parabolic shift from 2004 to 2014. If you look at that shift, it was actually greater than it was from 2014 to 2024. So this has been going on for a long time, regardless of who's president, regardless of who's in Congress, regardless of who's in the Senate. This is a bipartisan problem that we got into that we cannot ignore. Now, if the Democrats were at the helm by themselves, this would be way worse. But we're just as culpable when it comes to actually doing the wrong thing. They want to give things away to buy votes. We've done exactly the same thing. We just give it to different people.
It is Dr. Rich McCormick. He's District 6 Republican, great state of Georgia. I urge you to go look on YouTube and go find this speech from last Friday where he explains the debt in a very simple way and a very direct way, and we've got to fix it. You know, we're seeing Joe Biden, belly up to a microphone and talking about we're going to send more aid to Syria now. And we're going to send maybe another $1 billion to Ukraine. They've got all this discretionary money to send to Ukraine. We're sending money all over the Middle East. We're sending money to all sorts of places while ignoring the problems we have here. I think the American people would be okay with a little bit of debt, not 35 trillion, but a little bit of debt if we're taking care of the homeless veterans, if we're taking care of drug addicts and getting them off the street, getting them some help, if we're fixing infrastructure, if our schools are better than they are. But that's not happening. We're sending money to go pay pensions in Ukraine. I know it's probably a drop in the bucket, even the $200 billion to Ukraine, which is a lot of money. That's only a 1/5 of a trillion. I get it. But having said that, isn't that where we should start? Why do we keep on sending our money all over the world?
Hey, I will actually say this, and everybody knows this, so it's no secret. I actually believe that we should be spending a lot of money in military aid to Ukraine. We can end this war within a year. I talked to the Supreme Allied Commander over there. I know that if we undercut their Russia's energy production, if we put massive sanctions on them, we didn't allow European countries to buy Russian processed oil from India, they would collapse within a year. If we gave them weapons to end this war, we would be dragging this out, sustaining a military complex that really shouldn't be involved in a long-term war, but we should end this right away. But you're right, it is a drop in the bucket because we spend $423 billion in the next 10 years on Medicaid fraud by itself.
Wow.
If you want to talk about protecting a country which is top 5 in resources around the world, keeping people from out of Europe that invade from an autocracy, such as Russia, that we basically said we were going to protect because they gave up their nuclear arms and actually sustain our place in the world. We have a lot of places we can invest in foreign affairs to shore up our place in history and not become isolationists. But if you want to get rid of the waste, fraud, and abuse that's going to cause the downfall of the United States, absolutely 100% we got to do that.
Right.
Once again, why attack these small little things when we're not talking about the biggest things? Closing the border. You know how many hundreds of billions of dollars we spent on illegal immigrants being brought here, not just escaping through a fence into here, but actually being paid for by the United States government to fly them here. Tens of thousands of people so that they can live on our dime. If you look at the waste, fraud, abuse, we have not closed the loophole on verification for Medicaid processing, which we have spent hundreds of billions of dollars on. We are even at the tip of the fraudulent spending we have in the United States. It should make us all sick and angry, and hopefully the DOJ and Congress can work together to correct this horrible insanity.
It's Representative Rich McCormick. Rich, you're the military guy, so I don't want to argue with you about it, but I certainly want to learn from you right here. Let's talk Ukraine for a little bit longer.
Yeah.
Before the Ukraine war happened, before the invasion happened from Russia, there was an opportunity to continue Minsk II. Joe Biden decided to not do that, to sit down and make sure this didn't happen. Then once it was underway for a year or so, there was an opportunity in Istanbul where Boris Johnson was going to represent the West, and he decided to get up and leave, and we didn't get peace then either. So I'm with you. I want Ukraine to win, and I think Russia's bad. Absolutely. We couldn't agree more. But not one drop of blood had to be dropped by a Ukrainian man. A generation of men wouldn't be gone had this country done the right thing when it came to foreign policy. Isn't this on Joe Biden?
100%. Look at what he did in Afghanistan. Look, what he did. He has proven that he has the worst foreign policy of all time, and that's saying something. The worst foreign policy by an American president of all time.
It's not even close.
Really bad things.
Yeah, it's not even close.
What he did in Afghanistan, worst withdrawal ever, worse than Vietnam. We spent $2 trillion there, 20 years there, spent 2,462 lives, American lives, in defense of that country. And then we gave it back to the same people we took it from, so they can actually foster more hate and discontent towards America and its allies. Our foreign policy towards Iran, to allow them to foster hate and distribute weapons to our enemies, whether it be Hamas, Hezbollah, the Russians, the Houthis, China. Iran is a horrible player. And the fact that they fired those weapons on American ships, killed American lives from Georgia, my home state, and killed people. And there's no accountability. Joe Biden stood up at the podium and said, there will be accountability. Bull crap. You didn't do a thing. Those guys don't fear us. Iran should have been taken out a long time ago. When I say taken out, you tell me what that means. But we saw what we did to Muammar Gaddafi, and what did he do? He drove over, showed his underbelly, and we didn't have any more problems with him.
Well, we had an opportunity. Rich, didn't we have an opportunity when Obama was in office, and they had an election there where a guy who was not a theocrat won the election, and then Iran lied about him winning the election, ended up shooting people dead in the street if they dared say that guy won the election, and Obama could have used pressure and could have, that entire theocracy would have fallen, I believe, maybe I'm wrong, had he just supported the uprising by the people who love the West, the people who just want some freedom. And what he said was, we're not going to meddle in the elections of the Islamic Republic of Iran. Didn't he have an opportunity to fix that, to stop all of this buildup in Iran?
100%. I got a bunch of Persians that live in my district who pleaded for us to support the good guys. We do the same thing in Cuba, by the way. When you have a illegitimate government that's suppressing people, that you have an uprising that supports democracy, freedom, all the things that represent the manifesto that we have based our country on. Why wouldn't we do that? Once again, Obama. When did Russia invade Ukraine? Both when Obama was president and when Biden was president.
Yes.
They smell weakness, just like China smells weakness in Taiwan. Whenever you have the Biden or Obama presidencies, they start flexing their muscles. We back down. We have some sort of guilt about being America. We have guilt about being a powerful nation that actually spreads freedom and capitalism throughout the world, which is the best way to defeat poverty, by the way. Look at Poland, the second fastest growing economy in the world for the last 15 years. They are better at capitalism than we are now. Shame on us.
Yes. No, I couldn't agree with you more. It's Representative Rich McCormick. Go and follow him, mccormick.house.gov. He's a great representative from Georgia, also a doctor. So just to finish up on the military stuff, with Trump coming in, you saw how the European leaders all kissed his ring this past weekend. They know that strength is back in the White House come January 20th. But when it comes to Ukraine specifically, and I believe you when you say if we gave them the right weaponry for a year, perhaps they can win. But he doesn't want more war. In fact, he wants people to stop dying. He said that. What does he do? If you're advising President Trump on what he does to end this thing now, what does he do?
He's in an incredibly powerful position. Now, notice in the last 4 years, he's had plenty of opportunities to speak about Ukraine. He's never said defend the efforts. He's never said we should leave NATO. He said NATO should pay their fair share. He's been very disciplined on his points talking about Ukraine. I think he has an amazing opportunity because of his relationship with Putin to say, look, we are not going to play around with you. If you continue this war, I will make it incredibly difficult. I'm going to undercut your energy production. I'm going to increase energy production in the United States by 47%. I'm going to tank your ability to create. I'm going to put pressure on India not to consume your oil, I'm going to put pressure on the EU to not buy processed oil from India that come from Russia. I'm going to make it so hard on your people, and I'm going to give Ukraine enough weaponry to destroy your armor. I'm going to make your life miserable. You better end this. You better super peace. I'll find a way for you to get out the back door, but don't do it. I have a bigger red button than you, just like he said with North Korea.
Yeah, no, I think that you're absolutely spot on with that. It's Dr. Rich McCormick. Let's circle back to spending. So if you're advising Doge, what do they do first? Is it about the fraud and waste and the welfare system, in the Medicaid system? We know that people are using SNAP and then they're filling up their food trucks and going and selling the food that we're paying for. I mean, there's a lot of wrongdoing going on in the so-called entitlements. And I think it was Obama that added tens of millions of people to entitlements because government wanted ultimate control of everything we do. So what does Doge do? Do they go? Is that where they start on the entitlement programs and see what's going on, or is there so much bloat in some departments in government that you think they should start there?
There's no way to wait for anything. This is going to be a multi-pronged attack to get rid of this stuff. When you talk about $2 trillion, wow, that's like half of your budget that you get for income.
Right.
That's how much we have to cut from our budget. It is going to be a massive slash. I mean, it's going to be hard on our economy, quite frankly, because when you take away $2 trillion from your economy, now they'll never get rid of $2 trillion, by the way. The bureaucracies are very good at guarding themselves.
Right.
They think they're going to outlast the president, Congress, and everybody else because they have great protections at their job. That's one of the things we should do also is, by the way, attack the way we employ people in the government because, quite frankly, they can do no job. They cannot show up to work and not be fired. That's ridiculous.
Isn't that
we
crazy?
did a lot of things to correct it.
Rich, what was the number? Was it 95% or 90% aren't even showing up to work?
Isn't that crazy? Not showing up to work full time, yeah.
What the heck?
And no accountability. So Elon Musk just talked about that. We have a ton of ways to create reliable employment for people who want to work and do their job, not for people who just want to show up and collect a paycheck. But if you want to talk about where we start, always talk about the fraudulent stuff, the criminal stuff. If you want to talk about the people to get out of the United States, talk about the criminals. People,
yes.
If you get pulled over for a criminal charge, I don't care if you're speeding. If you're breaking the law, you're here, you're putting people's lives in jeopardy, bye. I'll see you later. Don't pass go. Don't collect $200. Back to your original country. If you're a criminal, if you're a criminal, you come here and you kill people, you should be put to death. You're literally invading my country as a criminal. You should be treated as a military combatant because you raised arms against the United States from within our country. So, shame on you. You're gone.
It is Dr. Rich McCormick, District 6 Republican, great state of Georgia. When it comes to the majority in the House, it's very slim. About as slim as it can be right now. I think it's going to be a little bit better once you've got a couple of special elections. But are you going to be able to get stuff done? You've got the Senate now. You've got the presidency now. We have conservatives on the court. The House is really where it's going to start and finish. If you lose one or two votes, you're not going to get stuff done.
Some of the things are going to be more difficult than others. We've already had some people speaking out, trying to soften the blow on the deportations. There's some people going to want more out of the tax cuts. They're going to want more of whatever their interest is. But ultimately, President Trump has a much better leverage point. He's not dealing with the same speaker as before. He has a speaker that he's supporting. The speaker's producing good legislation that's going to support Trump's agenda. I think we're all on the same page. It's going to be a tremendous amount of public support to do the right thing. And I think more than ever, President Trump has an ultimatum to really get done what he needs to get done, more than he ever had before. And he's also had 4 years of experience. He understands what the roadblocks are, and he's put the right people in the places, and I think he's going to put the right people by appointments to get the job done.
McCormick.house.gov. Go follow him on all the social media as well. Rich, one last question. As a military guy, how do you feel about military enlistment now? Should Pete Hegseth get in? And we've all heard what he said about what the military should do. Hell, he wants to hire Hollywood producers to make really Top Gun kind of ads to incentivize people to go and sign up again. The people signing up aren't signing up right now. How do you feel about that going forward? Are we going to have a stronger military?
So remember, I did the commercial for the Marine Corps back in the early 90s. That was me on that horse, turning into the few and the proud, the Marines. And I believe that people join the military because they want to be warriors. They don't want to be told anything else. They want to fight for their country. They're patriots. There's a tradition in a lot of families. Who is not struggling in recruiting? The Marines. Why? Because we're recruiting warriors.
Yes.
The Army, the Air Force, and the other services are all suffering because they're not going after that military ethos that attracts people. And also, quite frankly, we have 70% of the youth that don't even qualify anymore because they're too obese.
Yes.
Time to get America back to healthy again. Get kids outside playing instead of on computers. We need to have the testosterone restored to our young men and have women thinking the right direction so that we can actually be a nation that are fighting for our freedoms just like we always have.
Make sure you go and check out his speech from last Friday about the budget, about the debt. It's really, really masterful. You'll get educated in about 5 minutes from Dr. Rich McCormick. Rich, thanks a million for making it happen. If I don't talk to you, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Blessings to you and your family. God bless.
All right, brother. Right back at you. We're back after this. Stay right here.